What's up guys, macadii here, and today guys, a brand new team building video, but what we're doing is building a team based around Mega Metagross. Now if you're hyped for this, please do hit the like button down below. I'd really appreciate it, because this is my favourite Mega Pokemon of all time. If we could get this to 50 likes, that would be absolutely fantastic. But anyway, what we've got is ScrapBrain, the Mega Metagross. I don't know why I'm stumbling there. But anyway, it's Clear Body with Meteor Mash, Zen Headbutt, Hammer Arm, and Grass Knot. Now this moveset's only a temporary one for the time being. It depends on how the team evolves, because Mega Metagross has got one of the worst cases of full moveslot syndrome in the world. I mean, it's just absolutely stupid how... If it had that 5th move slot, it would be disgusting. But the trouble is, it can't hit everything in the tier really hard. Unless you sort of get the moveset absolutely right. Yeah. It's just a bit of a nightmare. But what we're going to do is change up the movesets depending on how the team works at the end. We're going to pop back here, have a look and go, right, with the team, we don't need this move, we might not need this move, and things like that. And obviously, change around some of the EVs and things like that, because that shouldn't be in there. That should be a negative Spadef nature, if I remember rightly. Just so our Grass Knots hit a little bit harder. So we got Meteor Mash, which is staple. Zen Headbutt, which is also very staple. Now the final two moves, some people like to put priority on here. We can always put priority on later on if we need to. But Hammer Arm and Grass Knot for really well, because it means we can hit Ferrothorns very hard. We can hit Heatrans relatively hard. And then Grass Knots for bulky water types. But it may not be a problem later on down the line. We'll just have to see and obviously adjust it from there. So I've been having a think about a good Pokemon that pairs with it, and one that does pair very well is Keldeo. Now, I think in terms of the item, I'm feeling like a Choice Scarf Keldeo could work really well here, because it means first off the bat, we get a good Scarfer. We could always change this to Choice Specs, but I think having a really fast Mon that's a really nice sort of, it's a relatively good check to Megazard X straight off the bat. Obviously, Dragon Dance, without the Dragon Dance, we do outspeed with ScrapBrain, but being able to have something that's more than base 100 Scarf is always really nice to have, and you basically you just outspeed everything. So we're going to go for Scald, Hydro Pump, what else are we going to go for? Obviously Secret Sword, and the final move, I think we're going to go for the Icy Wind. It's not very powerful, but we can catch off Scarf Chomps and things like that if they decide to lock themselves into Outrage. We could definitely outspeed those, which is really nice to have. So we're going to go for Timid. We don't want Attack. We want to go into Special Attack there, and we're going to go for Timid with 0 IVs in there for foul plays and such like. And I think Choice Scarf for the time being, because that gives us 2 really fast, powerful mons that make a really nice offensive core there. And it works well as well for the time being, because the grass, obviously Keldeo is hard-walled by a lot of sort of, well, most bulky waters and stuff like that. So being able to have ScrapBrain there with the Grass Knot will be really nice. So in terms of our defensive core, obviously ScrapBrain and Keldeo are both grounded, so it would be nice to get some immunity there. So something that could work quite well, that pairs really well with ScrapBrain sort of defensively, is the Landorus. Landorus T, just because you get Levitate, so Levitate means obviously Metagross can handle that. We've got any Ice moves can be directed at both Keldeo and also ScrapBrain. Any Water moves can be directed at Keldeo as long as they're not too strong for the Lando. So I think as a sort of semi-offensive defensive core, it should work pretty well. So we're going to go for a defensive set. What we're actually going to do is we're going to go and get the latest spread, so because it's been a while since I've actually used Landorus T, and it's always best just to get the sort of the general spread that people like to use. So we want a defensive set. Okay, maybe this is this VGC? No, this is VGC. We are not doing VGC. Oh my goodness! Right, so we're gonna go for the defensive set, and they recommend basically a very similar set, but I think that's the one that's best to go for, because that gives us a rocker, which is really nice to have. Gives us a really good amount of physical defense, and especially the Intimidate as well. And it's also another sort of semi-useful answer to Megazard X. Not that you'd want to switch in, but it's yeah, it should work pretty well as a defensive core. Now, let's have a think. What other things could go really well with this team? One Pokemon that I feel could also work really well is Heatran. Heatran could work really nicely here, because obviously ScrapBrain is weak to strong, like we haven't really got anything that can take strong fire type attacks, And I think that could work really nicely because Heatran, the specially defensive leftover set with Flash Fire means that they're less likely to go for EQs and fire moves, so that works so well with our Mega Metagross. And just generally for mind games and stuff like that, it should be working really nicely. So we're going to go for a max Spadef set, because this set, if you don't have the right moves to hit it hard, it can wall a majority of the tier. We're going to go for Toxic. Let's go for Taunt. I used Taunt on Heatran recently and it worked really, really fantastically. Let's just have a look at what they see for Heatran on here, because now we don't need our Stealth Rocks. We might be able to run something a little bit more interesting. They go for Protect, Taunt, Roar. Roar could be interesting. Let's have a look and see what other sort of options they decide. Earth Power could also be nice. Because that means we allowed ourselves to hit other Heatrans, because at the minute we're kind of walled by them. And I kind of like the idea of that, actually. I think we're going to go for Earth Power on this guy, because that means we've got a bit of sort of starting with Volt Turn, possibly with the U-turn on Landorus there. Earthquake and Stone Edge give us nice Edge Quick coverage. I think Stealth Rocks and Landorus makes a bit more sense. We've got 2 4x weaknesses. We just have to play around that, I think. It's very difficult to not have that, especially up in OU, when there's so many good mons that just happen to have 4x weak move, weakness to things. So, as a pairing, as a sort of set of 4, I'm really happy with these guys. They all synergize really well. We've got Heatran that can take Psychic moves to Keldeo. Heatran and also Landorus can also take Bird Spam moves. We've got answers to both Talonflame, Megazard X, semi-decent answers to Azumarill. In a way, I mean, Azumarill could be a problem, so maybe that's something we need to think about. So, an answer to Azumarill that could also work really well with this team could be the Serperior. Because the advantage as well with Serperior is it gives us another really fast mon. I think the Leftovers set is the one I'd like to go for, with Contrary, with Leaf Storm, Hidden Power. Now, this is the question. Do we go for Hidden Power Fire here, or do we go for Hidden Power Ground? Considering we've got the Landorus here with the Earthquake, we've got Keldeo for Heatran, we've got Heatran itself for Heatran, and also ScrapBrain to a point. I think we don't need to run that, and we're going to go for Dragon Pulse, because Dragon Pulse is really nice to have on this, and then finally Giga Drain. Because we don't really need to run Sub on this. I think having the Giga Drain is going to be really, really nice. We can go for a nice Timid Nature with 0 IVs in there, and that means actually we can get rid of Grass Knot on here. And what would work really well? The options that we've got here, we've got Earthquake, but I don't think it's really necessary for this guy. What we can do is we can get rid of the Negative Nature on there, put the Negative Nature on there. Power Up Punch could be an option. Bullet Punch is also an option because we haven't really got any priority, but then the other move that could be useful, actually, the other option could be Pursuit. Now this sounds a little bit weird, but what would work really well is obviously Keldeo. One of the number 1 switch-ins to Keldeo are the Lati Twins, because outside of Icy Wind you're not going to be doing much. Obviously Serperior does help handle that, and we do have other ways, so maybe Pursuit's not the best way to go. Let's just have a look and see what other suggestions they make. Oh, Ice Punch actually, because we haven't really got much ice coverage. I could really see that going well. So Ice Punch on there would be really nice. Yeah, I think that looks really good. So in terms of the team itself, what are we lacking? Right, let's see. So we've got the Serperior, which gives us a really nice late game cleaner. We've got ScrapBrain, ScrapBrain that should hit really, really hard. It would be nice to have something more tanky. We do need to try and think about some sort of hazard removal. That's the only thing. Because at the minute, we are a little bit stuck. If they do decide to bring hazard stack, that could be a problem. The question is what Pokemon to go for. We could go for a Lati Twin, but then it does give us Dragon. Does it give us a bit of a weakness though? It does give us a bit of a weakness to oh no, we can't go for a Lati Twin, because the problem is that obviously Mega Metagross could then be a massive issue, which would not be nice at all. So in terms of the final Pokemon, Skarmory still gives us that same issue. the ultimate question just comes down to whether we want to include rocks on this team. Include rapid spin on this team. Because if we don't, I have an idea for something quite interesting that could work really well. I think probably the best thing is, I'll see what you guys think, because that's probably the best bet. Because obviously with how these sort of work, if you guys haven't seen these yet, is that we make the team and then I get your suggestions from you guys and the nickname suggestions and stuff like that. And then from there, we then go on, I go and improve the team, and then we have a live based around it. So I'm thinking a very interesting Clefable set, which should work quite well, because you got I haven't really got a dragon on here, but a semi-dragon steel fairy, it doesn't really count. But a Life Orb Clefable set. Now this is going to be a sort of a tank set, so it's a bit of a lure as well. I think this is going to work quite well. So what we'll have is we'll have Moonblast, Fire Blast, and finally on there maybe have we got an electric? I think Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt could work pretty well. Could this be a good option, or would something like no? Because we don't really want Thunderous. And then Soft Boiled. So what this does is allows us to handle things like, and it's another way to handle, well, it handles Bulk Up Talonflame, which is really nice, because Bulk Up Talonflame could be a potential problem, especially once, especially Heatran. Once Heatran goes down, we could be in a spot of bother. I'm not decided on this set just yet. But what we'll do is, because this means allows us to handle Ferrothorns, and just generally surprise people and hit really, really hard, which would be really nice to see. Because obviously Life Orb damage, people expect this to normally be defensive, so they can switch a lot of things in. Let's just have a look and see if there's any other options here that could work outside of that. Raikou could be an option, but then is that giving us it's probably giving us a little bit too much speed and not enough bulk. The other option we can see, no, I think Starmie doesn't really fit. I'm struggling to try and fit a Defogger on this team. This is the only thing that's slightly upsetting here. Maybe Togekiss is the better way to go. That does still compound our weakness to Watsumajigi though, which I really don't like. No, I think what we're going to do, we're going to stick with the team for the time being, because what it means is we've got a really nice hard hitter as well, and it gives the illusion that it's going to be a more defensive set. And it does have decent defenses, even when you don't invest in them. So I think it should be quite an interesting set just to play around with and see from there. But anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and everything like that. And let me know how you think I should change the team. At the minute, at the very least, I'm very happy with the first 5 mons. But rather than just drag this on, I would much rather get your guys' opinion on this. Because it's good, because I can learn off you and you guys can learn off me and everything like that. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys at the next one. Macadii out.